I think one of the greatest things I hear when I speak to salespeople specifically and you get the same thing because you work with Aflac. I've done some work with Aflac as well. And one of the biggest things they say is the thought traps that I find myself in, like what you just mentioned. And specifically, the keywords I always hear are negative self-talk and disempowering self-talk. And I always ask, well, what does that look like? When does that appear? And it generally appears, like you said, on the road to a specific goal. When a salesperson is prospecting, when they're about to make the phone call, they're about to drop by the business and have that first conversation or presentation. And they start having these thoughts of, I'm not enough. Am I the right person for this? Am I going to do well, or am I going to crash and burn? Right. And like you said, we all experience thousands and thousands of these thoughts every single day. And one of the things that's helped me, and I'm curious to ask you the same thing of what's helped you with this, because we all experience it, but something that's helped me is recognizing most of the time, not all the time, but recognizing this isn't my thought, right? This is simply a thought that is coexisting in my mental space at this period in time, but this is not necessarily my thought. I didn't create this thought. It's just passing through the ether at this point. And I get to choose whether I accept this thought as true or not true, right? So I'm curious with you, how do you combat, if maybe that's not even the right word, but how do you handle these thoughts when they come into your own mental space?
Sure. So I remember, not only do I help do training with Aflac, and they're a client of mine, working with new associates who are fresh into a sales school, and as part of the curriculum, our Power Thinking is right there. I joined Aflac to test this material out on myself as a commission-only salesperson, so that I can experience what they experience. It's one thing to come in and say, "Boy, do I have the training for you. This stuff works, and so let me do it." But it's another when you're walking in their shoes and you do what they do. You start from zero and start to build a portfolio of businesses doing strictly cold calling, people that you don't know, business owners that you don't know, and face the same challenges in terms of our thoughts. Our brains are processing 50,000 thoughts a day. Typically, and this has been proven, and 70 to 80% of those thoughts are usually negative or repetitive negative. And so the challenge is being able to detect, these thoughts. As you mentioned accurately, they are popping in our heads. Every second and a half, there's another thought. And when you're in commission sales, it really compounds the negativity, because many people walk into commission sales not believing that they have the ability to do it. They may have been reminded by close friends, people they trust, family members. Wait a minute, sales? You're not cut out for that. So now you start with that foundation, and you're getting ready to approach a business. There's anxiety anyway, because an anxiety is the negative emotion around this fear of a future threat. What's going to happen? Are they going to kick me out of the office? Or if I'm making a phone call, they're going to hang up on me. And so one of the skills of resilience that came out of the University of Pennsylvania's Positive Psychology Center, that's all evidence-based, is around avoiding thinking traps. This was discovered by one of the founders of cognitive behavioral therapy, Dr. Aaron Beck. And there are 8 different thinking traps. So as we're, and as I was going through and making cold calls, a thought may jump in that, I think I know what the other person, the business owner or receptionist, gatekeeper may be thinking. They may be thinking that they don't want it, or they don't want to talk to me. And these are the things that we come in with, which makes it much more difficult to get anything done. So that thinking trap is called mind reading. And so we even have that in our personal relationships, right? You have a significant other, and they may be, mentioning something to you, and you cut them off. "Oh, I know where you're going with that," or "I know what you're thinking," and that's a trap. And we have to, when we recognize that we're ready to cut somebody off, we have to stop, take a pause, and go, well, let them finish. And more often than not, when we let someone finish or let someone express themselves, It's very different than what we were thinking was going
Yes.
to come out. So it pays to just back off and wait. But yes, there are many other thinking traps like jumping to conclusions and where overgeneralizing. There's minimizing and magnifying, where we minimize the good stuff, the good things that happen to us, and we magnify, make a mountain out of a molehill, right, the negative things. I mean, or another term for it is catastrophizing. This is a major catastrophe, but it's really not that big of a deal. And there are many more, but real powerful stuff.